Look at the corporate registration filings for maximum effort from the past month. Ryan Reynolds has systematically restructured the board of directors, removing every single legacy executive tied to his wife's commercial ventures. No announcement was drafted. No media advisory was broadcast. The administrative slate was simply cleared. Simultaneously, 5 separate contractors just slapped a massive $2.1 million mechanics lien against their unfinished 110-acre estate in upstate New York. The construction vehicles have sat entirely idle for 6 months. A project once touted as their ultimate family compound has transformed into a standstill monument of unpaid bills and frozen financing. This isn't a temporary public relations rough patch. What we are witnessing is a cold, calculated masterclass in corporate and personal insulation. Ryan Reynolds isn't riding out the storm with Blake Lively. He is quietly, structurally separating his multi-billion-dollar brand asset from her reputational collapse. I will detail exactly how the machinery of Hollywood's most manufactured marriage uncoupled behind closed doors and why his self-preservation required her public downfall. To understand why a public relations strategy turns this savage, you have to stop viewing these people as a couple and start analyzing them as corporate conglomerates. Ryan Reynolds is no longer an actor who takes salary gigs. He operates as a private equity titan wrapped in a charismatic exterior. The liquidation of Aviation to Diageo for $600 million and the $1.35 billion acquisition of Mint Mobile by T-Mobile weren't artistic milestones. They were massive equity events. His entire net worth relies on a single, hyper-specific metric: mass-market consumer trust. He is the guy corporate America hires when they want a billion-dollar brand to feel like your funny childhood friend. Blake Lively's commercial architecture was built on an entirely different, far more volatile foundation: aspirational perfection. Her beverage label, Betty Buzz, and her beauty venture, Blake Brown, don't sell utility, they sell the manufactured mythology of her lifestyle. The effortlessly glamorous mother, the Met Gala darling, the curator of high society taste. When a commercial ecosystem relies entirely on perfection, it functions like glass. It doesn't bend under pressure, it shatters. Ryan's team recognized early that if her reputational fallout breached the walls of his corporate holdings, the financial contagion would decimate the valuations of his upcoming enterprise deals. The corporate entity must survive, even if the personal mythology has to be sacrificed to the wolves. The legal settlement between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni didn't resolve the crisis. It exposed the sheer scale of the internal damage. For nearly a year, Blake's legal team pursued a high-stakes strategy, alleging a hostile work environment and claiming an astronomical $300 million in reputational and brand damages. Her publicists confidently leaked narratives of a definitive courtroom victory that would entirely vindicate her image. Then came the sudden $0 dismissal. No payouts changed hands. No structural admissions of guilt were entered into the record. The judge threw out the core harassment filings, leaving her team with nothing but a mountain of legal bills and a desperate denied motion to claw back attorney fees. A $0 settlement in a high-profile Hollywood dispute is the ultimate corporate surrender. It signals to every major studio that the plaintiff's leverage evaporated before they ever crossed the courtroom threshold. Notice the deafening silence from Ryan Reynolds' camp during this critical operational window. The man who possesses the most aggressive, agile, viral marketing apparatus in the entertainment industry didn't deploy a single asset to defend his wife's integrity. There were no coordinated maximum effort campaigns to soften her public image, no witty, defensive social media posts to deflect the media scrutiny. He left her completely exposed on an island of her own making, allowing the public to finalize a narrative of calculated overreach while he maintained absolute distance from the fallout. Study the exact timeline of their public scheduling over the past 6 months because the behavioral shift is blindingly obvious to anyone fluent in talent management. For nearly a decade, their entire public identity was anchored in highly coordinated, performative digital banter. They traded sharp insults on Instagram, crashed each other's press junkets, and turned the concept of marital humor into a highly lucrative marketing tool. It was a flawless content loop designed to keep both names trending simultaneously. That engine has been completely decommissioned. Ryan's public appearances are now rigorously managed to maintain a pristine, individualized brand identity. He talks extensively about sports franchise ownership, fatherhood in generic, focus group terms, and entrepreneurial philosophy. Her name has been systematically expunged from his professional lexicon. When prominent interviewers ask direct questions regarding Blake's recent business ventures, his responses are brief, clinical, and immediately pivoted back to his own corporate portfolio. He isn't protecting her privacy. He is actively starving her brand of his digital gravity. By refusing to let his name be co-mentioned in the same paragraph as her ongoing controversies, he is forcing the market to view them as two entirely separate financial entities. The most telling evidence of this calculated isolation isn't happening in Hollywood boardrooms. It's playing out across their elite social circle. For years, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds operated as the core power couple within Taylor Swift's highly guarded inner sanctum. They were fixtures in luxury suites at NFL stadiums, prominent faces on highly publicized double dates, and carefully photographed walking the streets of Manhattan. The social fallout: past, coordinated double dates, shared visibility, collective power, couple brand. Present, subtle, unfollowing, public silence. Total abscondment from the narrative. Look at what happened the moment the legal drama became toxic. Insiders close to the circle began leaking detailed accounts of how Travis Kelce found Ryan's constant, hyper-curated, always-on persona exhausting and transactional. Shortly after, Blake subtly scrubbed Kelce from her social media channels while entirely ignoring Swift's massive personal milestones online. Yet, Taylor Swift didn't issue a statement of solidarity. She didn't offer a public defense. Instead, the circle quietly closed its doors, leaving Blake on the outside looking in. Ryan didn't fight to repair that bridge. He simply adjusted his positioning, ensuring his individual relationships with key industry power players remained completely uncompromised, while his wife was left to navigate the social freeze alone. The $2.1 million in mechanics liens filed against their Westchester County estate by Flower Construction is the ultimate physical metaphor for an empire in deep internal crisis. In high-net-worth real estate, a mechanics lien of this magnitude doesn't happen because someone forgot to sign a check. It happens when there is a fundamental breakdown in capital allocation or an active dispute over project viability. This is a massive 14,000 square foot compound that Blake publicly referred to as her heaven, a passion project meant to cement their status as East Coast aristocracy. The construction ground to a halt precisely as the financial reality of her brand collapse set in. Reports indicate that retail metrics for Blake Brown Hair Care plummeted immediately following its launch, failing to hit even conservative baseline targets. When a celebrity's primary consumer brand flatlines, their personal liquidity undergoes immediate stress. Ryan Reynolds possesses the immediate capital to clear a $2 million bill with a single wire transfer. Yet, the liens remain completely undischarged in county records. He is refusing to deploy his own corporate capital to salvage a joint project that has become culturally radioactive. He is letting the asset freeze, signaling to the financial world that his money will not be used to subsidize ventures compromised by her tanking marketability. Tabloid commentary always waits for a dramatic, catastrophic ending, a formal divorce filing, or a public war of words. But that is not how high-level Hollywood operations dissolve. Disintegration at this tier arrives via the quiet modification of risk assessments. It happens when a studio head looks at a packaging deck for a new feature film, sees Blake Lively's name attached as an executive producer, and quietly asks if there is an alternative option with less structural baggage. It happens when top-tier talent agencies look at the metrics of the Baldoni fallout and realize the public appetite for her specific brand of wealthy, untouchable elitism has completely soured. Ryan Reynolds understands the mathematics of cultural velocity better than anyone in entertainment. He knows that in the modern digital economy, you cannot force an audience to buy a narrative they have already rejected. You cannot market an elite couple when the public has pulled back the curtain to look at the cynical PR machinery operating behind it. His strategy wasn't to destroy her with a loud public betrayal. It was far more devastating. He simply withdrew the scaffolding. He turned off the amplification of his marketing engine, stepped back into his individual corporate sanctuary, and let the natural gravity of her choices pull her reputation down. The ultimate irony of the Reynolds-Lively dynasty is that the exact tools they used to construct it are what ultimately ensured its fracture. They spent a decade teaching the public to look at their relationship as a perfectly managed consumer product. They showed us the seams, the jokes, the perfectly timed updates, and the calculated transparency. But once an audience becomes fully fluent in the language of public relations, they don't just admire the performance anymore. They start analyzing the motives. The moment the public realized that the curated warmth was masking a highly aggressive corporate apparatus, the illusion vanished permanently. Ryan Reynolds didn't have to launch an attack to protect his status. He just had to stop acting. He went back to being a pure corporate strategist, leaving Blake Lively to discover exactly what happens when the cameras turn off, the scripts run out, and you are forced to stand entirely on your own. Do you think Ryan's corporate retreat was a necessary business move, or did he entirely abandon his partner when things got toxic? Drop your thoughts below.